Okay, so yesterday I picked up my 110-foot turntable, and it will be going right there in the middle of this loop. It should handle any engine I have, including a couple steam engines. So just a matter of installing that. But first I've got to install the 200-foot truss bridge. I also picked up the Magic Pan Bakery, which will become the Pepperidge Farm Bakery near Fairview Avenue in Downers Grove. And I also picked up the meat packing plant and stock pins. Picked up two of these stock pin kits, and Champion Packing Company. That'll be part of the Chicago Stockyards. And of course, the big challenge here is all the doors and windows that I have to contend with. But the swing bridge is on another bridge, swung open at the moment, so I can go in and out of the back door. But the 200-foot Central Valley Bridge will go right across here, connecting and coming around, connecting on this loop, coming back down to the swing bridge. In between will be a grain elevator. I just cut some PVC pipe to simulate it for now, and there'll also be a refinery and a quarry. So this is where we're at so far, about halfway through mid-August, and we can actually run trains across that bridge, and I'll throw in a video of that for the August update as well. Okay, working on the Central Valley 200-foot truss bridge kit. The hobby shop kind of warned me in advance that it was very intricate and detailed, and you know what? They were right. I'm working on the bed right now. It's some glue set up and have it weighted down. I'll work on the next section tomorrow. Okay, so we're on day 2 of our Central Valley Model Works double track truss bridge kit. And day 1 was building the floor or base. Alright, day 2 we're laying track. And one thing they don't tell you on the box is you need code 4 3-foot sections of code 83 track and 4 3-foot sections of code 70 track. Now my layout is in code 100, so that kind of made it a challenge because this outer, the main track here, not the guide, but this main track doesn't fit. Alright, so with a little gentle sanding on the bottom of both sides of the code 100 flange portion of the track, it does fit back into the groove. Alright, then once you have it in the groove, you can see all these little dots. Alright, and you come back here, once you have it in the groove, then you have to mash the railroad ties to secure the track itself. Alright, so that's what I'm doing now, and it's long and tedious work. I pre-weathered this base and the code 100 track. I always pre-weather it. I just had bought the code 70 rails and hadn't weathered it, so I got to go back and do that. So stay tuned. We'll be back once I get some ties smashed. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm using code 100 and the bridge calls for code 83, which means the bottom flange here is too wide for the groove or the guide where the mashed ties have to be. So what I do is just gently, all right, not much has to come off, but if you don't take it off, your track's going to roll on you. You don't want that, because then it won't fit securely. So I'm just going to put it through here and then just gently go down one side and then the other to keep it even, so again the track doesn't roll. Alright, now the other side. I suppose you could do this by hand with sandpaper or a file. Like I say, you don't have to take much off to get it to fit. Okay, so now that we've got the flange narrowed down a little bit, we can put the rail into the guide. And I say guide, it's just these little knobs there. You got to fit it down in between, and then you have to mash these knobs just like driving a railroad tie. Alright, and you want to hold it firmly, start in the center, and simply push towards that flange and bring it up and mash. Towards, bring it up and mash. And I do each side to begin with till you get it at least secured well enough that it's not gonna roll on you accidentally. And as you can see, I pre-weather my rail, and I just use a cheap brown paint, and I'll come back on it and put a black wash on there to simulate oil. And that's how you start this. This section over here is already done, and with the bridge railing or the guides railing on the inside already done. That I had the foresight to go ahead and buy 4 sections of code 70 rail, which is what it calls for. But again, I didn't figure code 100 would matter, and it does, because it wants you to use code 83. And the biggest thing is taking that flange off so that it fits down in there and won't roll on you. The other thing the instructions call for is to use a Stanley 1/16 nail setter to smash the ties with. Well, I've got a nail set, but it's not that size. Mine's 5/32, which is too big, because I tried. So then I had to find something else. And I found these little star drivers. Are perfect. This one's a little too small. This one's just right. And with the grooves that are in the stars, you can get that tie, or that the railroad spike, little nib and get it in that little groove and push in and then up. Alright? In and then up. When I say in, it's over that bottom flange and up. In and up. In and up. In and up. And needless to say, it's tedious. And I don't do it all day. I will do a section or two on per rail and then stop for a little bit, do something else. So this section here took me all day yesterday to do. Once I have both sections done, then I primed the bottom bed with gray primer. Today I will use a light blue green like you see some truss bridges over the top of that, and then I'll come back and weather that with some rust. And I got that idea just looking at pictures of truss bridges on Google. So Google's always a good source of reference. All right. Well, you don't need to watch me doing all these spikes, so we'll be back. Okay, got those rails both done. Now it's time to do the bridging guardrails with code 70. In case I wasn't clear before, code 70 is what it calls for, and they fit perfectly where they're supposed to. So you don't need to use a sander or anything to grind them down. Alright, so 2 more of these to do, and we'll be ready to move on to the next section. Okay, so after 2 days of mashing spikes, they are both sections are done. I will weather those with a black wash representing oil, grease, that kind of stuff on the ties. And in the meantime, let's take this. It gets painted this light bluish green. You can see there's a little bit difference between it and the gray. Because throughout the Midwest, you can find truss bridges that are that color, that are all rusted up. So we'll do that, and then we'll work on the rust portion. All right, let's go to the fancy paint booth. Okay, so here we are at our fancy state-of-the-art spray booth, and we're just going to give it a light coat of this light bluish green. Alright, so we'll let that dry. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because that's just kind of a base coat. Most will be covered in rust. Okay, so I did some additional weathering, and I'll tell you my top secret method. Alright. Hey, household paint is still acrylic latex, so water down as a wash, and a little thicker on the center track, on the center of the sections. That's where engines would drop probably the most oil, and then a little bit lighter on the outer sections. This one over here is still wet. This one's drying up pretty good now. So, all right. The next thing I got to start on is the truss. Waiting for the bed to dry. So, keep on going. Okay, so I spent yesterday and so far this morning building girders. And there's 3 different types of girders. These are the BB bottom cord girders that go along the bottom of the truss, and had to make 4 of them, 4 ends, one for each side of the truss and one each end. And you have to cut away the X's on one side and then add some gusset plates, and then you got to build 12 of these girders, and again you got to cut away the X's on one side per the diagram and add gusset plates. Here's one with the gusset plate and one without the gusset plates on each end, and these will end up going together with some splicers. Alright, and I still have 3 more. You build them this size, and then you got to cut them down to the appropriate side, cutting out the correct X's. So I got 3 more to cut up, and then add gusset plates to these 6, and then I got to start on these upper truss ones, cutting them down. And if you watch Rob Bennett's video on building this bridge, and you should, you'll see that there's some pretty tough angles to cut here. So we'll see how much fun we can have with that. I did get my piers from Walther's yesterday, and so I'll be getting ready to start that part of the process as well. All right, let me get back at it. Quick note here. All right, it says to make 4 of these ends, all right, which makes sense. Then it says to make 12 of these center ones. Actually, it's you're making a different amount than that. Okay, you're making 4 and 8. You're making 8 of one size, so I've got that, and 4 of another. They're the same size, but where the gussets go are different. And so don't get in a hurry. Read the instructions, reread the instructions, study this diagram. I caught that just as I was making my 9th girder. Alright, so I was able to stop and before I made a mistake. So take your time, study, restudy, walk away from it for a while, because when you come back you're going to take a look again, and that's when you're probably going to find a difference before you make a mistake. So just saying. Just saying. Take your time and study the diagram. Okay, so here it is, the 200-foot truss from Central Valley. It was a lot of fun and challenges to build. This is the truss section. The bed is in getting ready to be mounted. It's got a coat of gray primer on it and a coat of a light blue-green paint that I will be weathering now to match how I did the base girders. So anyway, there's a couple little fix-it things I got to do, such as here. I think a gusset came off here and there. So we'll get those fixed up and we'll be ready to go. Here's an interesting tidbit on the finishing up from the owner of Central Valley. I designed this kit to have the floor assembly serve as a standalone unit which can be installed on your layout and operational during the assembly of the truss unit. The truss unit is not designed to use like a prototype. Real truss should never be used to support the model trains. Use the floor assembly installed and shimmed on your bridge abutments. The floor assembly should become a permanent or removable part of your existing roadbed. With some clever thinking, the floor can be installed on a swing up or out unit on a hinge as well. Well, all of that would have been helpful to know on the front side, not in the finishing up section. Because I would have had trains running by now if I had known that. Anyway, all's good. Just a few extra parts. Actually, most of them are the girders cut to length. But they supplied extra gussets and extra mounting shims, etc. So that's a good thing. I mean, it's always good to have this kind of stuff in the scrap bin. Help with other projects. Okay, so we're back in the train room, and we've got the 200-foot Central Valley Truss Bridge base done, and the piers have come in from Chooch via Walters, and we got a 30-foot plate girder set, so I'll have plate girder bridges on each end. All right, the truss is done and pre-painted, a coat of primer and a coat of that light blue-green, such as here. Except now I got to weather it this morning. But before I weather, this is where it's going. In this opening, lift out section, you notice I've drilled and added dowel rods here, so that when the piece sits in place, it won't jiggle back and forth. Alright, and here's the bridging piece. As you can see, I've notched out this end. Here I've just drilled. Same with the bottom, just drilled so far, and that one's been drilled and notched. And I simply use the sonic tool to get in there and cut it open. Alright, and when it was drilled, it was in place and drilled straight through so that the dowel rods would line up appropriately. Okay, so this train room, or lanai, is a bit of a challenge, because you not only have this door to contend with, it's windows all the way around. Alright, another door into the master bedroom, which will have a hinged section. Alright, and then this piece from the expansion area here across this opening, alright, will be removable as well. We have a door into the guest bath and a sliding door in there. So it's 4 doors and windows and all walls. So it's a challenge, but fun. The Walters swing bridge is here. It's operational, and it is on its own little swing bridge. So there's the that swing bridge. And this will be a little bit of the harbor type scene on the Michigan Sanitary and Ship Canal, which connects the Mississippi River, Illinois River, Des Plaines River to Calumet Harbor and Lake Michigan. The grain elevator, refinery. This will be a quarry area over here, and I'll have a barge on this side. Interestingly enough, you can't find a Mississippi or American river barge anywhere. Alright, and so I'll probably have to scratch build one of those. Alright, well, let's get back to it. I'll get this bridging section done here so I can start building the bracing and stuff for the big bridge. Okay, so the truss is all rusted up, and the two closed girder, plate girder approach bridge sections are built and painted. They still have to be weathered. So I'll get that done here after this first coat of gray dries. So tomorrow I should be able to start mounting it. Alright, till then.